The Underground Railroad was not a railroad, nor was it underground, but for thousands of enslaved African Americans, it was their only hope of freedom. Imagine the dead of night, a group of men, women, and children moving silently through the woods, hearts pounding as they listen for the sound of approaching dogs. They travel by moonlight, guided by whispers and secret signals. Their journey is treacherous, but they know what awaits them if they are caught. Chains, whips, or worse. Their destination is a place where slavery does not exist, where no one can claim ownership over them. That place is Canada. For more than a century, slavery was deeply ingrained in American society. In the southern United States, millions of African Americans were held in bondage, forced to work under brutal conditions, and denied even the most basic human rights. Many tried to escape, but the risks were enormous. Plantation owners hired patrols to hunt down runaways, and laws ensured that any black person found without proof of freedom could be captured and enslaved. Even in northern states where slavery was outlawed, African Americans were not truly free. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 made it legal for bounty hunters to capture escaped slaves anywhere in the U.S., meaning that no place within the country was truly safe. But beyond the northern border, there was hope. The Underground Railroad was a secret network of routes, safe houses, and allies who helped guide enslaved people to freedom. It was run by abolitionists, free black communities, and former slaves who risked their own lives to help others escape. Conductors, as they were called, led fugitives from one safe house to another, using coded language and symbols to communicate. Sometimes, a lantern hanging outside a home meant it was a safe place to rest. Songs sung in the fields carried hidden messages, and quilts with special patterns were used to signal which routes were safe. It was dangerous work. If caught, both the fugitives and those who helped them could face severe punishment, imprisonment, or even death. One of the most famous conductors was Harriet Tubman, herself an escaped slave, who made over a dozen trips back into the South to guide more than 70 people to freedom. She became known as Moses for leading her people to the Promised Land. But she was not alone. Abolitionists, including Quakers, free black men and women, and sympathetic white Americans, all played crucial roles in sheltering and transporting escapees. The journey north was perilous. Some walked for miles through dense forests, hiding in swamps to avoid detection. Others posed as servants or stowed away on boats and trains, constantly at risk of being discovered. For many, the ultimate goal was Canada. Unlike the U.S., where even free black people faced constant threats, Canada offered full legal freedom. Slavery was abolished throughout the British Empire in 1834, meaning that anyone who reached Canadian soil was legally free and could not be sent back. Word spread quickly among enslaved communities that Canada was the Promised Land. Cities such as Toronto, Windsor, and Halifax became home to thriving black communities. Settlements like Buxton and Dresden in Ontario were established specifically for freed slaves, providing land, schools, and a chance at a new life. Over 30,000 African Americans made it to Canada before the Civil War, each carrying stories of unimaginable hardship and unbreakable determination. The journey to Canada was not only physically exhausting, but emotionally overwhelming. Many who reached the border described falling to their knees in relief, unable to believe they were finally free. Families who had been separated for years were sometimes reunited. Others arrived alone, having left everything behind. While Canada represented freedom, life was not always easy. Many black settlers faced racism and segregation, struggling to find work and equal opportunities. Schools and businesses often refused to serve them, and some white Canadians resented the growing black population. But despite these challenges, the formerly enslaved built strong communities, founded churches, and became leaders in the fight for racial equality. One of the most significant challenges for black settlers in Canada was securing land and employment. In theory, they were free, but they often faced economic barriers that kept them from achieving true independence. Many had to work as laborers or domestic servants, while others pooled their resources to purchase farmland and start new lives as independent farmers. Organizations such as the Elgin Settlement in Ontario provided land and education for black settlers, ensuring that freedom was more than just a legal status, it was an opportunity for a better future. Education played a crucial role in the lives of those who escaped slavery. Many of them had been denied the right to read and write in the U.S., but in Canada they had the chance to learn. Schools established by abolitionist groups and black educators became centers of knowledge and empowerment. Literacy was not just a skill, it was a symbol of true freedom. People who had once been enslaved were now teachers, preachers, and business owners, proving that given the chance, they could thrive just like anyone else. Despite the promise of freedom, there were still dangers. American slave catchers did not always respect Canada's sovereignty, and some crossed the border in search of fugitives. There were cases where free black people in Canada were kidnapped and taken back to the U.S., leading to protests and increased security efforts. The Canadian government took steps to protect its black residents, but fear remained a part of daily life for many who had escaped slavery. As the Civil War broke out in the U.S., some black Canadians returned south to fight against slavery. They joined the Union Army, believing that true freedom could only be achieved when slavery was abolished everywhere. Their contributions to the war effort were significant, and when slavery was finally ended in the U.S. in 1865, many considered returning home. Some did, but others remained in Canada, where they had built lives for themselves and their families. The Underground Railroad left a lasting legacy. The courage of those who escaped and those who helped them shaped both American and Canadian history. Canada remains home to the descendants of these freedom seekers, and their contributions have played a vital role in shaping the nation. Today, historical sites, museums, and community initiatives work to preserve this history and honor the bravery of those who risked everything for freedom. What would you have done in their position? If you had been enslaved, would you have risked the journey north, knowing the dangers? If you had been a free person, would you have been brave enough to help? These are the questions we must ask ourselves to truly understand the past. The Underground Railroad was not just a physical journey, it was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the unyielding desire for freedom. If you found this story powerful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into history. And let us know in the comments, who are the unsung heroes of history that you think deserve more recognition?